ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जायामुदीरये। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवतीरुत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टकी। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च नंदगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। नमो पंकजनाभाय नमो पंकजमालिने नमो पंकजनेत्राय नमस्ते पंकजांग्रे। ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्ध्रस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुदीनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्यम् ईश्वरम्। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषिणे वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्णा चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा। Welcome to our part 2 of this series on spirituality, practical or personal, where we are exploring a journey from leading a life centered on practical solutions to our problems to going to a life beyond practical, where we experience a personal relationship with the Lord. So that is the main theme of this seminar. And yesterday we discussed how unfortunate where we try to control, where we try to figure out solutions, where it is all about being practical. But the spiritual journey becomes more fulfilling when we move from the head to the heart, where there is a personal experience, which is a life beyond practical. And we gave the example of a person who came to a spiritual path where he was asked, I want to be, when he asked, I want to be happy, what should I do? He was told, chant the Lord's names to be happy. And then he asked after some years how to chant. And then he was told, we need to have a prayerful heart. So that he kept asking every few years how to pray. Then he was told, you pray by becoming sincere, how to become sincere. So like this, finally, the whole cycle turned around after a few years. And finally, he came back to the same question, how do I become happy? And the answer was same, that we become happy by chanting. So the point was, we discussed on this story, how when we keep asking how, rather than enter into a deep personal relationship by asking questions of why am I practicing this path? As long as we don't enter that space, we will always remain incomplete. So therefore, we need to go beyond practical. We need to keep that obsession practical solutions aside. So we gave the example of a child desperate for a chocolate. So when the child's barometer or the yardstick is chocolate, is the frame of reference, then the child gauges every discussion, every subject as practical or impractical on the basis of whether that discussion will give him a better, or another chocolate. So if the child is not going to get another chocolate, then that discussion is impractical. Similarly, many of us in this world are interested in eating, sleeping, sex life, and defending. And we analyze everything in spirituality based on our frame of reference of eating, sleeping, sex life, and defending. So every spiritual path makes an appeal to a practitioner to raise the bar, that you please live not in the zone of sense gratification, but in the zone of surrender. So from sense gratification, we come to the space of struggle, where we try to purify ourselves. And from struggle, we eventually need to move ourselves beyond, whereby we allow the Lord to take charge of our lives. And only when we surrender do we have a complete personal experience. A rich spiritual experience awaits us when we move from struggle to surrender. So today and tomorrow, we'll discuss this journey from a spiritual struggle to an experience of surrender to the Lord. And that's very, very important for a practitioner of any spiritual path, especially for those of us who are practicing Bhakti Yoga. So today we will discuss from the Bhagavad Gita this journey of um, being practical in spiritual life to having a rich personal experience. So the level 1 of spirituality is when people generally are not interested in spiritual practices per se. They are actually focused on their own life of sense gratification. I want to enjoy, and the spiritual path may help me enjoy better. That is the mood. So in this level 1, people engage in some quasi spiritual practices. They approach some self help, some feel good discourses or books. So that the whole focus is on feel good. I want to feel I'm spiritual so that I can enjoy better in this world. So still the goal remains the same, that is enjoyment. But there is a higher level of existence where we experience a more fulfilling life when we choose to live by principles, when we opt for a life of struggle. And that struggle to choose principles is difficult. Like we discussed from Bhagavatam yesterday, how those who are engaging in sense gratification and those who have transcended this world, they are happy. But klishyat antar hito jana, those who are actually struggling in this world, those who are in the middle, they are the ones who go through a lot of struggle and purification. But this is the space where we try to take charge of our lives rather than allow the mind to drag us, which was in the first case. So in the level 1, the mind leads us to sense gratification. In level 2, we take charge of our lives and we control the mind, or we lead the mind, or we try to control the mind. And eventually, spiritual practices are complete and the experience is fulfilling when we enter the third zone, where the Lord or the universe or God, whom we believe in or whom we approach for shelter, that personality, that force, that universe takes charge and we are led. So that is the space of surrender. And spiritual life actually begins in level 2 and level 3. Spiritual practices actually start when we choose to say no to the mind dragging us. And therefore, we now discuss how to raise the bar and how to actually lead a personal life. Now, Bhagavad Gita teaches us, especially in the 6th chapter, it teaches us, basically Bhagavad Gita is taking us from level 2 to level 3. From level 1 to level 2 and then level 2 to level 3. So in the 6th chapter, Krishna gives a very practical approach to a spiritual practice where he speaks about meditation, about breathing, about controlling the senses through yoga. So at that time, Arjuna, in the 6th chapter, 34th verse, he tells Krishna that Krishna, this path is very difficult. Chanchalam hi manah Krishna pramati balavadridam tasyaham nigraham manye vayuriva sudushkaram. Krishna, my mind is chanchal, extremely fickle, and it's wild, pramati, and it's extremely strong, balavad, dridam, and it's stubborn. I can't control my mind. I can control a cyclone, but the mind is impossible to control. So when Krishna hears this from Arjuna, immediately says in the next verse, text number 35, that asamshayam samagrama eta nahi, asamshayam dunir mahabhavo, oh great warrior, asamshayam, undoubtedly, manah dunigraham chalam, mind is extremely difficult to control. But abhyasena to kaunteya vairagena cha guhyate. By abhyasa and vairagya, you can control your mind. So Krishna is teaching us how we can live in level 2, the zone 2. The first is sense gratification is the goal, and that is not spirituality. Spiritual life actually begins when we enter zone 2, where instead of the mind dragging us, we choose to take charge of the mind. And although we find it difficult, although the mind keeps dragging us to sense gratification, Krishna is telling Arjuna that you can do two things. Abhyasena tu kaunteya, vairagena cha guhyate. Abhyasa means practice, and vairagya means detachment. So these are the two principles Krishna talks about. You practice certain principles with determination, and you also practice detachment. Detachment means let go. And detachment is where we now enter the zone of surrender. And as the sixth chapter ends, Krishna in the last verse tells Arjuna that the highest yogi is he who completely surrenders himself to me. Yoginam api sarvesham madgate nantaratmanam shraddhavan bhajate yo mam same yukta tamomatah. One who with faith worships me, surrenders to me. According to me, he is the highest yogi. This is how Krishna appeals, or Krishna brings Arjuna to the next level of yoga. So therefore, this is the way the spiritual journey begins. And that's when Krishna starts the seventh chapter. The seventh chapter is to 12th chapter is the cream of the Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita, if you compare it with a burger, the top bread is the first 6 chapters, and the last bread is the last layer of the bread is the 13 to 18 chapters, the last 6 chapters. The middle chapter, 7 to 12, is like the cutlet or the cheesy part of the sandwich, which is the main ingredient. So Bhakti Yoga is covered in this 7 to 12 chapters. And 7th chapter is the first of these chapters in this section. And the very first verse, Krishna explains the journey of surrender, of experiencing the Lord in a complete sense. So Arjuna is told by Krishna that, my dear Arjuna, Tach Shrunu. Krishna says that the highest yoga is when you are attached to me. Maya sakta mana partha yogam yunjam madashraya asamshayam samagram mam yata gyasasi tach shrunu. Shrunu means Arjuna. Shrunu means listen. The journey of surrender begins with listen. The focus is to get attached. My asakta mana, Partha, O Arjuna, one has to get attached to me to experience completeness in spiritual life. And that's when yoga, yunjam means practice. It is similar to abhyasa, which Krishna referred to in the previous chapter. So now Krishna is telling Arjuna that, fine Arjuna, you want to attach yourself to me. You want to practice bhakti yoga. You want to rise from sense gratification to struggle, from struggle to surrender, and experience the completeness of yoga. Then you need to practice what? Mad ashraya. You need to practice taking shelter of me. You need to practice surrender. You need to experiment. Surrender is, you can practice surrender. And how do you do that? And you do that by Tata Gya says, please understand this. Touch Shrunu. The first step is listen attentively. Be present. Just listen to what I'm saying. So this is how Krishna begins his surrender treatise by imploring Arjuna to first listen. And that's when our, our path of experiencing the Lord in completeness begins. And Krishna says that if we actually begin this path of listening, then you will experience the first thing a practitioner experiences satisfaction. There is nothing more, you know. Krishna says, "Jnanam teham savijnanam idam vaksham asheshatah yad gyatva neha bhuyonyaj gyatavyam avashishyate." Krishna says that this knowledge which I am going to speak to you, the 7th chapter, where you will learn how to experience the Lord in fullness through surrender, this is not only complete, it is phenomenal. There is Neha Bhuyonis Gyatavyam Avashishya. You will realize that there is nothing further to be known. You will be like, ah, yes, this is it. Oh, pilgrim, your search has ended. This is the feeling, this is the experience a practitioner. He feels he has come home. He's safe. He has reached his destination. That's the reward of a culture of listening. So in any spiritual path, the focus is, we may use different words. We may say mindfulness, we may say be present. But what essentially surrender means is to listen to that voice within, to listen to the Lord's voice in the heart, to listen to the universe, the force, the energy, the Lord, the Paramatma, the Super Soul, Lord, God, Krishna, guiding you. So listen is the foundation of a spiritual path, of a path that guarantees a personal experience through surrender. So when we are struggling, we are living at the level of the head, and we are trying to figure out, and we are trying to really control. But when we enter the space of surrender and rise beyond practical, we let go the resistance and we are open. We open our hearts and allow the sound vibration, allow the Lord to influence us. We are influenceable. We are willing to place our lives to be influenced by the Lord. That is surrender. Surrender is when I leave my struggle, my controlling tendency, and instead trust the force, trust a superior energy, a superior intelligence to influence me. Srila Prabhupada says that faith, faith is, Srila Prabhupada defines as trust in something sublime. And what is sublime? Sublime is opposite of ordinary. So ordinary is something which is run of the mill, which is a daily affair. Like for example, you may be eating bread and dal and a little vegetables every day. That is ordinary stuff. But when you consume a delicious pizza with special exotic toppings, so then you have entered a sublime space, something above ordinary, right? So similarly, in our lives, eating, sleeping, sex life, defending, which is what the scriptures call as same as animalist and human propensities. So this is ordinary. But sublime is rising above eating, sleeping, sex life, and defending. So when we trust, like right now, ordinary life is when we trust our mind, intelligence, ego, which is called as contaminated consciousness. So when we live in the world of our own mind, ego, and intelligence, that is normal. That is the way any person leads his life. That is a life of mediocrity. That is ordinary. But sublime is, instead of struggling, instead of trying to control, instead of trying to figure out practical solutions through our mind, intelligence, and ego, we now choose to opt for a sublime life where we trust in an intelligence higher than my own mind, intelligence, and ego. And we open our hearts, receive that wisdom, listen attentively, which is what Krishna is saying. And the reward of that is, Gyatva neha bhuyo gyatavyam avashishyate. We experience completeness. There is nothing further to be known. And this, Krishna says, is very, very rarely achieved. In the next verse, Krishna says that out of millions of people who actually endeavor to surrender, to experience the Lord, hardly one person achieves. Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschid yatati siddhaye yatataamapi siddhanam kaschin mam veti tatvatah. Out of millions of people who endeavor, hardly one knows me in truth. Kaschin mam veti tatvatah. So somebody may say, well, if it is so difficult, then why undertake this arduous journey? Why not be just remaining happy in our life of sense gratification? No. When we undertake this path, even if we don't attain perfection, the very fact that we have chosen a life beyond ordinary, we are choosing, that means we are struggle. Remember, struggle is the first level of surrender. When we struggle to say no to sense gratification and we want to lead a life beyond eating, sleeping, sex life, and defending, that endeavor itself is so fulfilling. It is so rewarding that one is happy to continue, even if one doesn't get the results in this very lifetime. That is the beauty of a spiritual endeavor. And that is what Krishna is telling Arjuna, that yes, Arjuna, very few people attain success. And Srila Prabhupada writes in that purport that Bhakti Yoga is not easy. In fact, what is easy is understanding or seeing the Lord in nature. The impersonal realization of the Lord is easier practice than the practice of surrendering to a personal form of the Lord and accepting Him completely. But Krishna is kind. In the 7th chapter, he is teaching us slowly how to rise, how to move from seeing the Lord in every aspect of our life and then slowly surrendering completely to the Lord in his personal form. So, this is the appeal of the 7th chapter. But the struggle is important. We need to understand that this journey, although out of millions of people, one person may get spiritual perfection, but still, I am choosing to embark on this journey. That itself, that struggle itself is purifying. And it helps me to enter the next phase of surrender, of letting go, of allowing the spiritual truth, God, to influence me. Krishna tells Arjuna in the Gita that there are two realities, Arjuna. One is Bhumirapo nalo vayu khammano buddhirevacha ahankara iti yamme bhinna prakriti rashtadha. The matter, there are 8 elements, earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and ego. These are all my separated energies. This is there in this world. This is separated energy of mind. Along with this, Krishna also says there is a superior nature. Apareyam itastvanyam prakritim vidhi me param jiva bhuta mahabhavo yedam dharayate jagat. There is a living entity who is a superior energy, who is superior to this dull matter, and he is trying to control and manipulate this matter. This is our life, isn't it? We are constantly trying to manipulate matter and we are trying to control because we have life, we are the living entity. So these are the two phenomena that exist in this world. And Krishna is telling Arjuna that he is actually beyond both. And he says, what happens in this world? This is the Bhagavad Gita, 6th verse of the 7th chapter. Krishna says, Etadionini bhutani sarvani tupadaraya aham krishnasya jagatah prabhava pralayastata. So Arjuna, these are the two realities. There is matter, earth, water, fire, air, and ether. And then there is a living mind, intelligence, and ego, the 8 elements. And there is a living entity who's trying to manipulate this matter. Please know that both of them, I am the source. Everything is coming from me. So now your spiritual practices are to connect to this source, to understand, to rise above being a controller of matter, to connecting to the source of this. And that is when we begin to see the Lord as an unseen force binding everyone. That is where we come across this most famous verse of the Gita, the 7th verse, the 7th chapter, where Krishna is giving an example, an analogy to explain to us and to help us connect to the Lord in this universe. Through this verse, we can learn to surrender to the Lord and see Him in our day-to-day life. Mattaha parataram nanyat kinchidasti dhananjaya mai sarvam idam protam Sutre Mani Ganaiva. Arjuna, there is nothing higher to me, there is nothing superior to me. I am the basis of everything. Mai Sarvamidam Protam. Sutre Mani Ganaiva. Just like there is a beautiful pearl garland, a necklace, and in that necklace there are many beautiful pearls, but there's an unseen thread that binds all of them. I am that thread which binds. So we may not be able to see the thread, but we know that the thread is binding all the pearls. Similarly, in our lives, many phenomena exist, many things happen in our day-to-day life, but there is an unseen thread that binds all of this, that connects everything, and that is God, that is Krishna, that is Spirit, that is the Supreme Spirit. And we, when we connect to that, when we when we rise above our normal life of eating, sleeping, mating, defending, and enter the space of divinity, of spirit, we have embarked on a spiritual journey. And we do this by stopping the struggle and listening and receiving the spiritual wisdom. And the this is when we enter the surrender space, when we see the unseen, when we experience or when we connect to the unseen harmony, the balancing factor, and we need to connect to this. Like, for example, I'll give a simple example to understand this philosophical concept better. Like, you see a building, or you see an electronic gadget, you see anything like a table, you know that it is there in existence because an alive human being who is breathing has created it. It has come from life, right? Matter has come from life. Matter has not come just like that. Similarly, Krishna is saying, just like these buildings, these electronic gadgets, this table, this pencil means there is a creator. Similarly, when you see life in this creation, when you see earth, water, fire, air, ether, when you see all these material elements, you know that it has come from another supreme spirit. Just like you created this table and a watch, similarly, a supreme intelligence, a supreme spirit has created everything in this creation. So we generally focus on what is created, what is visible, what is manifest to our eyes. But surrender happens when we start connecting to the unseen force that is behind all of this creation. So Srila Prabhupada, therefore, he writes in the purport that here Krishna is teaching us how we can now see the Lord, even though he may not be physically present in his two-armed form and smiling at us and talking to us, but we can see him through this analogy of the pearl bound by a thread, connected by a thread. We can see the Lord in his impersonal aspect. Although we cannot see his form as God, but we are embarking on that journey of surrender. We are coming towards the Lord if we now start seeing him in our day-to-day life in his impersonal aspect. Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport a very hope-giving statement, because when I read it first time, I read it again and again. It gave me so much solace. Srila Prabhupada says, practically speaking, there is no difference between personalism and impersonalism, because ultimately every aspect has both personal and impersonal aspect. And therefore, our philosophy is both impersonalism and personalism. We understand that the Lord exists everywhere in his impersonal aspect. And surrender is to also appreciate and see the Lord's presence everywhere. And if we can do that, we are actually practicing spiritual life. How the Lord is existing in everything, is existing in my life, in every aspect of my life. And therefore, one of the main principles of spiritual practices is to connect to God and to see ourselves as same as God in quality. God, or the Supreme Spirit, is Satchit Ananda, eternal, full of knowledge and full of bliss. I and you, if we want to experience divinity and spirituality, we need to see ourselves, we need to connect to that principle of Satchit Ananda, which means we are also godly. We are also spiritual. Unfortunately, we only focus on how we are different from God. God is quantitatively great. He is Vibhu, we are Anu. He is supreme, we are tiny. He is infinite, we are infinitesimal. This difference is there. But we focus always so much on the difference that we forget that we are actually one with the Lord. We are one with the Lord in interest. We are also full of love. We are full of spirit. So when we that's why in the impersonal school they talk about Tattvam Asi. You are that. That means you are that spirit. You are a pure spirit soul. This realization or this connection to this sound is the basis of a spiritual path. Because if we focus on this similarity between ourselves and God, then we begin to experience fullness and happiness because God is full and happy. Hmm? If we only focus on difference, how I am different, how I am a servant of the Lord, if that is, we are definitely servants. That is the practice of Bhakti Yoga, and that is also our eternal position. At the same time, we are Satchit Ananda. If we don't focus at all in the beginning stages of Bhakti on our identity, on our similarity with the Lord, then we will slip to duality. Duality means to see the Lord, to see spirit and us as different. We'll always remain disconnected from spirituality if we keep focusing on the difference between ourselves and the Lord. And this duality is a cause of fear, which is one of the most powerful forces in this world. Bhayam dutiya binivishata syad ishad apetasya viparyayo smriti. When we focus too much on the difference between ourselves and God, that focus on difference may lead us to forgetfulness of the Lord because we're not connecting to the similarity. We're not connecting to how we are also divine, how we are also godly, how we are also full of love. So therefore, the first step in spiritual surrender is to connect to the principle of love, of eternality, of full of consciousness, of full of happiness. I am Satchit Ananda. Therefore, the seventh chapter of Gita is teaching us, when Krishna is telling us, I am that unseen force, I am existing everywhere. Krishna is teaching us to connect to spirituality every moment. So Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport that one who practices Krishna consciousness, if we are chanting Krishna's names, if we are attending, like you are attending these classes, one who is practicing Krishna consciousness automatically knows the Brahman and Paramatma aspect. What this means is, if we do not understand the Brahman and Paramatma aspect, that means we are not practicing Krishna consciousness properly. The Brahman aspect is to see the Lord in every aspect of our lives. And Paramatma aspect is to connect to the Lord within our own heart and to take guidance from the Lord in our heart and lead our lives based on this instruction and guidance by the Lord. So that is Paramatma guidance. So we can connect to Brahman and Paramatma along with our spiritual practices of approaching Bhagwan, the Supreme Lord. So there are three aspects to the truth: Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagwan. Like there is a mountain and you are standing very far away from the mountain. So when you see from far, the mountain just appears to be a rough sketch or landscape, greenish something. But as you come closer, you realize, oh, this mountain has trees, this has thick vegetation, there are animals running around. You can get a better feeling. But when you actually sit on the mountain top and you experience the whole mountain completely. Similarly, God or the spiritual absolute truth can be seen from far, which is like the Brahman realization, where we see the all-pervading aspect of divinity. When we come closer, we do meditation, we listen to the voice of the Lord within our own heart and take guidance. That is like the Paramatma understanding. And finally, when we actually have a personal relationship with the Lord, that is the Bhagwan aspect. One who actually has a personal relationship in Bhakti Yoga, one who is actually with the Lord, like one who's sitting on the mountain top. He ideally has a complete experience of the mountain, which includes both the Brahman and Paramatma aspect in terms of spirituality. So if you're not able to experience Lord in our day-to-day life, if you're not able to take guidance from the Lord within our heart, if you're not having the confidence, if you can't trust the Lord guiding us in our spiritual practices, that means we are not connected to the Brahman and Paramatma. So if you are really connected to Krishna, the Bhagwan aspect, then we should be naturally able to appreciate the Lord in every aspect of creation. That means we should be able to see Him impersonally. We should be able to see that unseen force, the thread that is binding all the pearls. We should be able to see the Lord in every day, every aspect of our lives. And also, we need to have faith and trust in His guiding us. We need to surrender, means to go with the flow. The Lord is guiding us from one event to another, from one day to another, from one moment to another, from one experience to another experience. So, allowing the Lord to guide us is a sign of a spiritual practitioner who is practicing Bhakti Yoga completely, who is connected to the Bhagavan aspect of the Lord. And if we are unable to experience this, that means somewhere our practices are incomplete. So we need to appreciate. He is there. Vishnustu trini rupani, Purushakhyani ato viduhu, ekam tu mahatah srishtir, dvitiyam tu anda samstitam, tritiyam sarva bhutani, gyatva vimuchyate. The scriptures explain that the Lord first expands himself. He comes into this material creation as the Karanodakshaya Vishnu, and then he enters into each universe, and then finally he enters into the heart of every living entity. And one who realizes this, Vimuchyate, he is the one who becomes completely free. To realize the Lord within our heart is the journey of spirituality. To have a relationship, to have a personal relationship with God in our heart, to allow our lives to be guided by Him, from a life where the mind is dragging us to a life where we control the mind, and finally to a life where the Lord in our heart, He guides this wandering living entity, and placing our trust and faith in this Lord of the heart, that is surrender. That is a personal spirituality. That is a spiritual experience which is centered on surrender and personalism. So therefore, Krishna is encouraging Arjuna to reach, to have a relationship with the Lord at all three levels: the Brahman, seeing the Lord in every aspect of our lives; then Paramatma, connecting to the Lord within the heart, taking guidance from Him; and finally surrendering completely to the personal, beautiful form of the Lord. Krishna says, Rasoam akshu kaunteya prabhashmi shashi suryayo pranavas sarva vedeshu shabdakhe paurusham rishu. Arjuna, when you taste water, Krishna says, Rasoham akshu kaunteya, that taste of water is me. So now just try to understand. When you are thirsty, somebody may give you a cold drink, somebody may give you a fruit juice, but there is a thirst which can be quenched only by water, isn't it? Similarly, that Lord alone can satisfy us, and that Lord comes as a taste of that water. So when I'm tasting water, when I'm thirsty, when the throat is parched, and that, so Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport that when you're thirsty, if you drink ocean water, it is salty, it can't quench your thirst. But there is fresh water, and that taste of water is Lord. When I'm present as I'm drinking water, I experience Krishna because I'm connecting to the principle of that taste of water, which is the Lord. Rasoam akshu kaunteya prabhashmi shashi surya. I'm the light of the sun. Pranava sarva vedeshu. I'm the sound Om of the Vedas. And Shabda Khai Paurusham Rishu. I am the sound in ether. In space, there is sound. So when we connect to that sound and we listen to that sound, we are with the Lord. And Paurusham Rishu, and the ability in man. So now Krishna is teaching Arjuna through examples and is guiding Arjuna. It's a guided meditation, you know. He's teaching us how to see the Lord in our lives on a day-to-day basis. Now, I don't know if you have experienced, but I've experienced that when I sometimes take food slowly, when I'm present, I actually experience the taste of the food. Now, if I'm talking to someone as I'm eating and I'm gobbling up, I'm just devouring the food, then I'm not present, and that food doesn't nourish me. So Krishna is now teaching Arjuna here, Rasoham, just experience me through the taste. What an amazing phenomenon Krishna has created in this world, which no scientist can create. This is amazing arrangement of nature, and this is divinity. This is spirituality. To see divinity here is surrender. That's Krishna's verdict in the Gita. Sometimes we are so caught up with our worry about losing weight. But if you are present in our eating, and if you follow the process properly, you will see how nature takes care of you, and you actually attain your natural balanced weight. I mean, in the sense, I know somebody who was 120 kgs who actually began a process of mindful eating, and by that he actually ate whatever he wanted to, like pizzas and cakes and chocolates. But believe it or not, he lost 25 kgs, and he attained. Of course, he couldn't come down after that. He needed to actually do a workout. But mindful eating makes a lot of difference. There is a book by Maurice Adicom, which I had read long back, which talks about mindful eating. That means there is a power. There is power in mindfulness. There is power in rasoam apshukonte, that taste that is Krishna. Prabhashmi Surya, the light of the sun. If you, if you search on YouTube, sun gazing, you will find an amazing story of so many. There are thousands of videos where you see people simply by gazing at the sun, they have transcended their need for eating. There are people who are not eaten enough grain, one drop of food. They haven't eaten for the last 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. They've simply taken everything by gazing at the sun in a particular way. There is a particular scientific process to follow. Again, what I'm trying to say is the point is not that you start gazing at the sun, or the point is not that you start eating chocolates and pizza. That's not the moral of the story. The moral of the story is that there is divinity in such a simple act like taste of food, like gazing at the sun. This is not an ordinary phenomenon. There is divinity. Otherwise, how do you explain somebody simply gazing at the sun? And there is one Prahlad Jani, of course, he passed away now. For 60 years, he didn't take a food or water. Simply by the sun rays, he nourished himself. On YouTube, you will find a lot of videos if you're interested. But what I'm trying to say here is that there is divinity. There is a Shakti beyond our human ability to grasp. And that is understood at a spiritual dimension when we listen, when we are present in our activities. And that's when we connect to the Brahman aspect, the all-pervading Lord, the all-pervading aspect of the Lord. So, unfortunately, we don't want to approach this because we are afraid. As bhakti yogis, we think, if I start appreciating Lord in every aspect of my life, I may forget the Lord. Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport that it is because of the fear principle that impersonalists don't chant Krishna's names, because they're afraid that if I connect to a person, to a form, to a name, then I may forget, I may get distracted, I may lose connection with the impersonal aspect and the connection that I have. Now, just like that fear, we Bhakti Yogis also have a fear that if I appreciate Lord in my day-to-day life, in the taste of water, if I start seeing Lord impersonally in every aspect, in the Brahman aspect, then I may forget my Krishna, my personal form. No, we won't. In fact, if you're really connected to Krishna, which is the complete aspect, remember Brahman, Paramatma and Bhagavan, remember the mountain example. If you're actually connected to the Lord, if you're actually with the Lord, then we should be easily and naturally able to appreciate the Lord in his impersonal aspect. But the fact that we can't is a tragedy. We are driven by fear. We are fearful of Maya. We are so fearful that we may forget Krishna, but we don't realize that we've never connected to Krishna in the first place. Because if we are actually connected, we will be able to appreciate Lord in our life, in our family, in every aspect of our life. Srila Prabhupada writes a beautiful statement in the purport. The jurisdiction of Krishna consciousness extends everywhere. I'll repeat this. This is one of my favorite statements in the Bhagavad Gita. The jurisdiction of Krishna consciousness extends everywhere. This means, Srila Prabhupada is saying that everywhere there is Krishna consciousness. So when you're appreciating your food, when you're appreciating drinking water, Shabda Khe Parush, when you are the sound in ether, you just sit quietly and listen to the sound in ether, sound in space. Like I'm in this village, sitting early morning when I sit in the terrace, and I close my eyes and I listen to the peacock's song, to the cuckoo singing, to the strange exotic insects and birds making sounds, and to the rain, and to the rickshaws going by. When I'm focused on the sound, that sound clears of layers of dirt. When I'm present, so therefore this Shabda, this sound in ether is Krishna. So this is the way Krishna is teaching us. In fact, it's a beautiful chapter. I recommend everybody to read. Krishna says, Punyo Gandha Prithviyam Cha Pravashma Tejasvino Punyo Gandha. I'm fragrance of the earth. Punyo Gandha Prithviyam Cha Tejastasmi Vibhavaso. Krishna is saying that I'm the heat in the fire. I am the fragrance of earth. So when you experience, when I experienced first rain here, so when the rain falls on earth, it creates a special fragrance. I'm sure all of us have experienced the first rain experience of earth mixing with the rainwater. That fragrance, if we can appreciate and take it in its fullness, that is surrender. That is Krishna. That is divinity. That is God. So this is the teaching of Bhagavad Gita. Tejas Sasmi Vibhavaso. Krishna is encouraging us to experience this. Jivanam sarva bhuteshu tapaschasmi tapasvishu. I'm the life of all that lives. What a beautiful statement, isn't it? I'm life of all that lives. When a child is born, I've experienced, like recently one of my friends gave birth, his wife gave birth to a baby, and he sent me the photograph. We were on WhatsApp, and I saw the baby. Just seeing that baby, immediately I connected. See, that baby is having life. So life has come to this planet. So that the life in that child is the same spirit which is there in you, which is there in me. It's life force. It is the thread that binds all the pearls. That is Krishna. To see the sameness or oneness in that child, in me, in you, and in all the life, Jivanam Sarva Bhuteshu, Krishna is saying, that is Krishna, that is spirit, that is God. That's how we see universal brotherhood. That's how we connect to everyone in this creation as one family. Vasudeva Kutumbakam means the ability to see every living entity as one. So this is all recommended in the Gita. And then Krishna says, Bijam Mam Sarva Bhutanam Viddhipartha Sanatanam. I am the seed of all life. Buddhir Buddhimatam Asmi. I am Teja Tejasvinamaham. I am the intelligence of the intelligent. I am the seed of all existence. You plant a seed, you see a beautiful tree come up. Where is that power coming from? What an amazing creation. What an amazing power. So when we see life, when we see anything growing anywhere, we know that there is Krishna. That is God. So when we see life in this universe, when there is growth, that is Krishna, that is God. So if you can appreciate God like that, Srila Prabhupada, in fact, he writes in Teachings of Queen Kunti that a drunkard while drinking wine, he can remember, oh, this taste of this wine is Krishna. So to that extent, Srila Prabhupada is accommodating and teaching us to appreciate divinity. So then like that, Krishna continues the explanation. And then somebody may say, for this power, everything in this world is Krishna, then the power sometimes is misused, or somebody may be lusty. So Krishna clarifies in the next verse, Balam balavatam chaham kamaraga vivarjitam dharma viruddha bhuteshu kamosmi bharatarshabha. I am the power of the strong. When you see power in display, that is Krishna. But kama raga vivarjitam, that which is bereft of lust and desire and attachment, that power I am. And also dharma viruddha bhuteshu kamosmi, I am sex life. Now look at this. This is such a taboo topic. But Krishna is saying, I am sex life. That which is not against religious principles. Now we focus a lot on not against religious principles. We focus a lot on morality, lot on power that is devoid of corruption. But power is Krishna. So when somebody is displaying amazing power to influence, like I know one political leader, of course he doesn't know me, he's influencing millions of people, charismatic, and he is in complete control of himself. That is Krishna. And he sleeps, and he has so much anxiety, everybody is criticizing him. But in an interview, he said when he sleeps at night at 10 and gets up at 4, he's fresh. He gets peaceful sleep. That means he's so connected to himself. What an opulent power. It's one of the 6 opulences of Krishna. And Krishna is saying, Dharma viruddha bhuteshu kamosmi, I am sex life. He's talking about Shringar Ras, romance. Now, if you see in this world, there are millions and millions of books and movies and songs and stories of romance. This is love is what makes the world go around. Boy meets girl, and there is so much of emotional churning. That experience of love, that experience of union of sex life is Krishna. Now, when we hear this, we immediately get alarmed. Oh, no, 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 no. This is Maya. I may be dragged by sense gratification. So we struggle. And we want to say no, we want to deny it. But Krishna is clearly saying here that, in fact, Srila Prabhupada elaborates in the purport that spirit is the basic field of creation. Spirit is the foundation. Matter is created from spirit. We unfortunately have made matter as a foundation, the fear of Maya as the foundation, denial of spirituality as the foundation, because of which we are unable to appreciate Krishna in our family life. A person may fall in love with a woman and may experience the joy of being with his wife, and he may experience that initial, whatever, the honeymoon, the romance experience. And that is Krishna. That's what the Gita is saying. But we are afraid of being dragged by our mind. Remember the three zones: sense gratification, struggle, and surrender. Now, because we live in the space of struggle, we deny it. No, 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 no. So those who live in struggle space, because they haven't surrendered, because they're unable to see Krishna in every aspect of this creation, in his Brahman and Paramatma aspect. So from struggle, they don't enter the surrender space. They don't actually connect to Krishna. From struggle, they slip back to sense gratification because there is no higher taste. So therefore, from sense gratification, we come to struggle. And from struggle, we experience completeness when we see Krishna, when we see divinity in every aspect of our lives. Of course, Krishna clarifies the three modes are really powerful. Echeva satvika bhava rajasas tamasaschaye. Krishna says, my dear Arjuna, yes. In the very next verse, Krishna says, in this world, everything is influenced by rajas, tamas, and sattva, the three modes. But remember, I. Now, what here I means Krishna, and also the living entity, because both are spirit, both are pure, both are Satchidananda. The soul is not influenced by the three modes. Therefore, when the soul disconnects from matter, when the soul is above, Krishna says, Tribir gunamay bhaver, ebhi sarvamidam jagat mohitam na bijanati, mamebhya paramavyayam. Arjuna, the soul, the supreme soul, we are above the three modes, the influence of three modes. And therefore, we need to connect to this aspect of divinity, to see the Lord in every aspect of our life. And how do we do that? That is the beautiful landmark, historical, legendary verse of the Gita, 7.14, where Krishna says, Daivyesha gunamai mama maya duratyaya mamevaye prapadyante maya metam tarantyate. Daivi esha gunamai. Krishna is first of all saying this inferior material nature. Remember, he's already called this as inferior, separated earlier, but now he says this is Devi, this is divine. Krishna calls his own inferior material energy as divine, and Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport that this is inferior energy, this is material energy, but still Krishna calls it as divine because it is connected with the divinity. And we can connect to Krishna. This is very difficult to overcome, this material energy, but Duratyaya, but surrender. Mamevai prapadyante. Surrender to me. So Krishna is calling upon the living entity. He is giving up the solution that surrender to me. See me in every aspect of your life. And once you do that, when you see divinity in your ordinary aspect of your life, when that is surrender. There is a beautiful room conversation of Srila Prabhupada with Lord Fenner Brockway. This is July 1973, London. And it's a 1.5 hours of room conversation. Such a beautiful, positive conversation where this Lord Fenner Brockway is a British lord, a parliamentarian. He lived to the age of 100. And when he met Srila Prabhupada, he was, I think, in 87 or 90 years old. And they are such a endearing conversation, beautiful conversation, where Brockway says that I grew up in Calcutta at Behrampur. Srila Prabhupada then speaks about Calcutta, British days. This man says how his parents are missionaries, and they speak about so many beautiful things. It is so human. And Srila Prabhupada, there you know, you can see Srila Prabhupada practicing the seventh chapter. You can see him seeing divinity in this conversation where he calls this now Lord Fenner Brockway. He says he's an atheist and believes in humanitarian principles, and he he believes in a pantheistic understanding of God. He says God is everywhere, and Srila Prabhupada appreciates him and calls him as very pure and advanced in that conversation. In fact, the Lord says that, oh no, I am, Lord Brockway says that, I'm not great. When Prabhupada calls him great man, he says, no, I'm not great. I'm an ordinary person. I never wanted to be in administration, but there are so many people who are doing so good, but they're not famous and they're not great. So I don't believe in greatness. And Srila Prabhupada then compares him. Srila Prabhupada glorifies him by recalling Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's verse of Pranadapi Sunichena and calling him as embodying humility. Srila Prabhupada showers amazing praise on an atheist and considers him as spiritually advanced and pure. Because Srila Prabhupada could see divinity there, although in that conversation they had intense differences when Srila Prabhupada was speaking against democracy and that British parliamentarian was a evolved democratic man. Although they had serious differences, the conversation is so candid, so they are so friendly. Then they have prasadam together, and they part of with so much joy and happiness. So we can see in that whole conversation there is an understanding of divinity. So let us see Krishna in our day-to-day life. I remember when I was giving this example of Himalaya, the mountain. So just like the mountain can be seen from far and then from close, and then you can be on the mountain. Similarly, Lord can be seen as Brahman, all pervading in our lives. He can also be experienced as an inner guide, and also he can be experienced in his personal form. But in our obsession with the personal form of the Lord, we neglect how the Lord is present in our day-to-day life. It is very, very unfortunate. I remember the first time I went to Himalayas, my friend Jagannath Priya Prabhu, I saw a mountain nearby structure with snow, and I said, wow, we'll reach there. Let's go there in 10 minutes, we'll reach. Jagannath Priya laughed. He said, it's not 10 minutes, it's going to take you 2 hours. I said, no, the mountain is just hereby. Jagannath Priya said, no, start walking. And we walked. The mountain seemed so close, but it was so far. And as we reached near the mountain, we realized, oh, how huge it is and what all is there. This is exactly what happens on a spiritual journey. Brahman realization is to see the Lord in every aspect. But as we go deeper in spiritual journey, we realize that, there is more. It's not simply an impersonal aspect. There is a guide within who is guiding me. And then finally, when we reached the mountain, it took us 2 hours. And then finally we climbed up and we sat on a particular section in that mountain. It took us another hour and a half. And then we had a complete understanding of the mountain. So if we want to approach the mountain, or if we want to approach the Lord, we need to appreciate everything on the way. We can't be like somebody who's blindfolded, who says, no, I will only appreciate the Bhagwan aspect. I will only go to the Lord in his personal form. So if we close our eyes and we run towards only the personal aspect of the Lord, we fail to appreciate the beauty on the path. We fail to appreciate divinity on our journey. And in fact, we may not even reach the Bhagwan aspect. We may not even reach the mountain of Krishna. Therefore, let us begin to appreciate the Lord in every aspect of our lives. And then, as we are nearing Krishna, the person, we will also experience divinity and spirituality in its complete manifestation of Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagwan. So this is how we practice spirituality. So today's session we discussed. Yesterday we understood the 3 zones: the zone of sense gratification, then the zone of struggle, and then surrender. Today we discussed how we move from struggle to surrender by beginning to see the Lord in every aspect of our life. Tomorrow we'll take examples from the scriptures and a case study of someone who moved from struggle to surrender, who allowed the Lord to influence him and take him through. So that way, we will get a direction on how to practice spiritual life in general and Bhakti Yoga in particular in its completeness. how we can experience the Lord completely in our day-to-day life. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.